Morning everyone, and welcome to our webinar on the West End marketing plans for 2023-24. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the new Director of Comms and Campaigns for the new West End company. I've been here since January. I oversee corporate affairs, public affairs, member events and also destination marketing. This morning I'm delighted to be joined by my colleagues, Hadass, who's Campaign and Events Manager for Oxford Street, and Katie Thomas, who currently oversees Bond Street and Mayfair. You'll both be familiar with both of them. I will kick off, if that's okay, by just talking you through the agenda. I will start by telling everyone about the trading environment we find ourselves in, then a whistle-stop tour of district news, and then I'll touch briefly on our most recent visitor survey before passing over to Katie, who will take you through key campaign highlights from 2022. And then we will take you through our annual marketing programme. We'll be presenting a bit more detail on the ones that are coming up soonest, so the coronation and Art in Mayfair, but we'll also be touching on other campaigns that will happen later on in the year. And then I will be ending by enticing you all to get involved in our West End-wide loyalty programme called the West End Club. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the session, so please do feel free to enter any questions you've got in the chat box on the screen as we go, and I will endeavour to answer them at the end or pass across to Katie and Hadass. So let's start. Let's look at the context in which we are trading. I think it's fair to say that the trading environment for the West End has become increasingly challenged over the last 12 months and will continue to be challenged really through to the end of 2024. The cost of living crisis is touching everyone, and that in turn obviously impacts all of your brand's performance. As a result, we've amended our West End performance forecast for the full year. It's now at 8.9 billion turnover, so that's -7% I should say, versus the previous forecast. But it's not all doom and gloom. Despite this, the West End is still on track to return to its historic target of 10 billion in sales by 2025, and everything we do as a department strives to deliver against that target. Looking back briefly to 2022, spend outperformed footfall throughout the year. Footfall continues to hover at around 20 to 30% below 2019 levels. And this basically seems to be the new normal and shows that although there are still slightly less visitors to the West End, those that come are staying for longer and are much more likely to spend. And when they are spending, they're spending more. Average visitor dwell time is now over 2 hours, at 132 minutes to be precise, which is up 23% on 2019. Sales are up 56% on 2021. International visitors have returned quicker than we had anticipated. And in fact, in terms of volume, we expect to have fully recovered to pre-pandemic levels by the summer, or certainly by early 2024. And you can see here the travel from the US has increased to 93% of pre-pandemic levels. And in fact, high spending Middle Eastern tourists are up 10% on 2019 levels. Since May last year, 62 million passengers have used the Elizabeth line, which is truly fantastic. Long term, it's estimated that it will boost West End performance by about 7%. Looking forward to 2023, average transaction values are now at 119. Footfall was up 33% in January and February on the equivalent to 2022 period. Consumer spend is still up at 28% year on year. And in fact, talking to a number of brands recently, a lot of you have had your best ever half term in terms of sales, which is really great to hear. So we're recovering well with a good start to the year. Next slide, please, Izzy. We run an on-street visitor survey with PwC, and we run that twice yearly. I thought it was worth just touching on this. Visitor satisfaction, advocacy, loyalty remain high across the district for both domestic and international visitors. So when planning the budgets for the year, we do what we can to address specific feedback that's come across from the survey. We know visitors want more inspiration on things to do in the area, and they want more visitor information. So we're taking that on board, and we're working to deliver that across our channels. They want more street entertainment. Now, obviously, Oxford Street is not naturally conducive to street entertainment, but we're trialling some street activations during the coronation, and Hadass will talk to you about those. The lack of tax-free shopping continues to be a problem, and we are leading the charge on lobbying the government for that independent review by the OBR. And we're doing, 120 pieces of coverage just on fighting that argument in the last quarter. Shopping remains their favourite pastime, and we're lobbying the government to extend Sunday trading hours, ensuring customers can shop for longer. And the majority tend to come to the West End to visit one particular street. So our Only in the West End press office is very important. It's key to encouraging people to explore further. And Katie will talk to you about that. Next slide. Here you can see a snapshot of brands that have recently opened or brands that are opening shortly in the district. So as you can see, it's a really exciting time. There's been a flurry of new leisure and entertainment destinations opening, including the digital exhibition space in Outernet, the adventure-themed Boom Battle Bar at the east end of Oxford Street, and then we've got Twist Museum near Oxford Circus. New hotel openings for 2023 include the Mandarin Oriental at Hanover Square, which is their new modern concept opening in the summer. Also the Bow Tree on Henrietta Place, which is a conscious luxury hotel just off Oxford Street. We'll have a world first restaurant in it apparently, but we don't know who that exciting chef is yet to be announced. Both Reserved and Pandora are opening their second stores on Oxford Street. There is of course the new format IKEA at Oxford Circus now opening in November. There's Manière Devoir, and I'm probably saying that wrong. That's an online fashion brand. It's opening its first UK physical store further up towards Selfridges. There's the red hot Swiss running brand On that's opened its debut UK store on Regent Street earlier this month. It's inspired by the Science Museum, so you should take a look at that. It's fantastic inside. It joins Gymshark, Armani Exchange, Marc Jacobs, and a number of other stores that have opened on Regent Street in the second half of 22. Existing occupiers are also investing in their physical stores, including Burberry on Bond Street, set to unveil its newly imagined space later this year, and Gucci, who's upscaling to a new flagship store. I've gone on far too long, I imagine. So Katie, perhaps I can pass over to you. Thank you.
Hi, so I was going to just have a little recap, hi everybody, on some of the sort of highlights of our year last year. So we'll take a little look back here. I'm going to start over on the right hand side actually with Let's Do London, which we work closely with London and Partners and our other partners within this campaign to gain 22% share of the voice with the Mayor's campaign, which was a £9 million London tourism campaign, originally set up to sort of get us out of the post-pandemic, but was hugely successful the year before in 21, and then took us into 2022 to start driving visitors back. And actually it was hugely successful, drove about £289 million worth of additional visitor spend into the capital. And as I say, we gained a 22% share of that. We also, on the back of that, with our West End partners, created the Only in the West End media campaign. And that was very much focused around driving people back into the West End, where we felt that there was people were afraid at that time to sort of come into the West End. So it was all around that lived experience that the West End can provide to you, like nowhere else. That was also successful. We specifically targeted the US and the UK domestic visitor with that, and we got great results. We brought 19 high-level press trips in, and were featured in features including Elle, Forbes magazine, The Times, Town and Country and Townhouse. So really good results from that. And that's something that both those campaigns we continue to invest in, and we'll come on to those for next year. We also had our spend campaign, which was a partnership with American Express, specifically driving spend into the Oxford Street and Bond Street stores. And that generated over 300,000 of additional spend in the run up to Christmas. In our arts and culture programme, so during September, we partnered with Together Band to promote the Clean Power initiative in line with all our sustainability objectives. In the summer, we saw the 5th edition of Art in Mayfair, which is our partnership with the Royal Academy. which brought over £1.2 million worth of fantastic sculptures by really renowned artists into the streets of Mayfair. So you were sort of pop-up Love by Robert in Indiana, and I'm sure many of you remember seeing some of those fantastic artworks that really helped to enliven the district. Arts and culture is very important to the destination as its heritage, but also a great storytelling platform for us just to work alongside our brands. And I'm sure many of you saw our collaboration with Louis Vuitton, which is obviously their worldwide Kusama campaign, and we worked closely with them to adapt that to work on Bond Street during January, which was a really nice pickup in January at quite a low point for us when all the Christmas decks come down. So that was great to see. We're looking to do more of those sort of activations. Who can forget the Platinum Jubilee? June saw the West End dressed in its sort of royal best for the celebrations of the Queen Platinum Jubilee. Oxford Street created a limited edition tote bag, which drove £75,000 of incremental spend to the destination. And while on Bond Street, we created a podcast with Poppy Delavine, telling the sort of history of Bond Street, which actually won an award, beating the FT Culture section, which was really nice for our very first podcast. As we rolled into Christmas, we put the brand new Christmas lights up on Bond Street. They were actually created to replace the very loved peacock feathers that we'd had for many years on Bond. And the new lights took the inspiration from the crown jewels and were actually developed in a recognition of the street's long-standing history with royal associations. They were originally going to be a huge tribute to the Platinum Jubilee and a celebration of that. But of course, by the time they went up in November, they became a very poignant tribute to Her Majesty the Queen after her passing. And I suppose from that, they immediately were seen as a very poignant display, and so achieved really unbelievable PR results with, over £1 million worth in PR value, reaching over 4 billion consumers. So all over the new West End, all of the new West End Christmas lights were produced with our new sustainable low bulbs, and for the first time ever, they were actually all turned off overnight in keeping with that sustainable message. Next slide, please. So from our highlights, let's move into this year. For 23-24, we have some key priority audiences that we are dedicated in reaching, and those are, as you can see here, so we have our UK domestic audience, which makes up about 60% of our overall visitors to the West End. So a key audience and really our sort of underlying bread and butter. And I know many of you refocused efforts with your UK audiences over the past 5 years, and it has brought that sort of bedrock again to our sales. US audience inbound has been particularly successful, I think, off the back of the Let's Do London, the £9 million campaign, and also our Only in the West End. We've seen great results for that. So we will continue to reach out to the US through both of those campaigns, one being media and one being more advertising based. The French and German inbound visitor is again a target audience for our partners, London and Partners, and we will continue to work with that campaign right through the year. We aim to do more with our Middle East, North Africa market. We know it's a very strong market for the West End, being a growing market in its coming back, but a very established market. And we know how to reach those customers, and we will continue to do that through our traditional routes as well as through the more updated sort of social media channels, looking at particular key opinion leaders and so on and influencers to work alongside throughout the year. As many of you know, we had embarked on a dedicated China Ready initiative prior to the pandemic, and we are now picking that back up and have put dedicated resource and funding into picking that campaign up, which we will see ready for Q2, Q3, when we see more Chinese visitors coming back to the destination. And that programme really looks at your offering in terms of China payments, so with WeChat, Alipay, and it creates a dedicated WeChat platform for the West End, which will then help us to engage more directly with both with the audiences. And we'll supplement that again with things like Red Pages and KOL programs, working with our Chinese agency on that. So I'll come on to a bit more on that. Next slide, please, Izzy.
So now over to our look ahead. So our marketing programme for this year covers 4 key pillars. So our seasonal campaigns and activations, our digital always on promotional activity, our West End loyalty programme, and our destination partnership and tourism programme. So we'll now take you through each of those in a bit more detail. Next slide, please, Izzy. So our seasonal campaigns are really designed to enhance and enliven the district and really drive footfall and spend, as well as dwell time into the district, providing visitors with timely reasons to visit throughout the year. So here you can see a bit of an overview of our campaigns throughout the year. But as I said, we will now take you through those in detail. So next slide, please, Izzy. So this, starting with spring, 2023 is set to be one of the biggest years in British celebrations, with the upcoming King's coronation, providing the West End with a global stage to champion its heritage, our district DNA, and our renowned offering. And so in April, we'll see the launch of our Get Your Royal On campaign on Oxford Street. We'll be dressing the street with our fabulous Union Jacks, bringing those back from last year to really bring life to the street. We'll also be this year installing a number of really large, impactful crowns, well, replica of the King's crowns, on top of a number of bus shelters up and down Oxford Street. And in addition to that, we'll also be working with an artist to install large pop-up installations, providing our visitors with a perfect backdrop for memorable photo moments up and down the street. For this campaign, we've also commissioned British illustrator Ruby Taylor to design an A to Z royal-inspired map of Oxford Street, which will really highlight all the fantastic events and experiences, special menus that all of our brands have on offer to really help visitors navigate and enjoy what our brands are doing across the bank holiday weekend. So this includes things like crown making activities at Lush, pop-up performances at John Lewis, curated afternoon teas at some of our great hotels and at Marks and Spencer's. So there's really going to be something for everyone to enjoy over the weekend, and this map will hopefully help our visitors navigate their way through Oxford Street across the very welcome bank holiday weekend. This map will also be promoted across all of our owned web channels and social channels, through a dedicated press office, our partner channels, and also through a paid partnership with Time Out London. In addition to all of that, we'll also be working with a number of influencers to promote Oxford Street as a must-visit destination across the bank holiday weekend, really further showcasing everything that Oxford Street and our brands have to offer, from retail to food and experiences.
There is still time for your brands to get involved in the campaign. So if you're not involved already, please do reach out to us following this session should you wish to participate. There's loads of different ways for all of you to get involved with whatever sector that you're in, whether it's retail or food or experience. So please do get in touch with us following this the webinar, and we can make that happen. Now over to Katie on Bond Street to take you through her royal plans.
Thank you, Hadass. It's a bit like being a newscaster. Over to Bond Street. I'm in the office, but anyway, it'd be nice if I was live on Bond Street. So spring on Bond, lovely time of year, and as Hadass has said, you know, huge celebrations with the King's coronation. We are obviously expecting the destination to be super busy, and that's sort of picked up by exactly what you would, if you were visiting the West End, you would want to have that feeling of celebration. So the whole destination and Bond Street, of course, will be dressed with the Union Jack flags. And I am working closely with Westminster at the moment to try and get our lovely floral displays, which we haven't had for years, back onto Bond Street as again a tribute to the coronation. So we are expecting to see a very colourful and floral Bond Street as we come into the coronation. We are also going to revamp that award-winning podcast with Poppy Delavine, Bond Street, A Right Royal History. And we'll be retelling that story of the hidden gems and all of the royal heritage of Bond Street and its brands. We're going to be sharing that with a lot of our hotel partners who will have a special version of their own for visitors during that period to take a walk down Bond Street with Poppy in their ear and explore Bond Street's royal heritage. We, of course, want to hear from you, and I know I've spoken to many of our Bond Street brands about any of your special products, any of the coronation plans that you actually have in terms of events and things. And of course, we will be sharing across our digital and social channels and our newsletter, Bond Street News, that goes out to our dedicated consumer Bond Street audience. Next slide.
To me. So this summer on Oxford Street, we are really looking to celebrate Pride, so really championing the unity and community across our district. So we're looking to curate a team of West End Pride ambassadors to create content and storytelling moments and really providing our members with a meaningful and impactful way to support Pride Month. So we would really encourage, we really want to encourage discovery and footfall through an interactive audio visual trail and really telling the story of some of our fabulous ambassadors throughout the month. We're currently looking at this campaign and fleshing it out, so we will be sharing a lot more detail as the year progresses, but during the summer months we would really encourage our members to participate in the celebrations with in-store events, activations and workshops, and through promotion of any special products that we can push through our own channels. So yeah, as I said, this is we're at early stages and talking with partners on this campaign, and we'll be in touch in the next few months with how you guys can get involved in this campaign. Next slide, please, Lizzie.
So moving into summer on Bond Street, we'll see the 6th annual Art in Mayfair event. And as you probably know, but if you don't, this is our partnership with the Royal Academy of Arts. This is the time we sort of showcase Mayfair's really vibrant mix of art and fashion, as art from the RA summer exhibition spills out onto the surrounding streets. So we create this amazing live art showcase right across our streets, and this year more than ever it's right across the streets, because not just Bond Street, and Savile Row, who took part last year. But this year, also Mount Street, North Alderley Street, South Alderley Street and Duke Street are all coming on board with Art in Mayfair. So the whole destination will see these incredible art flags being created for us by a Royal Academician. Yet to be announced, but will be announced in the next week or so. But expect something colourful and really vibrant right across the destination for that. This is a sort of 6 weeks of art showcasing with installations, talks, tours, walks, and just a huge visitor treat, a huge sort of time when visitors are treated to the summer of culture. And it really does showcase Mayfair's rich art heritage, bringing together the brands, the galleries and the artists within our destination. This Love sculpture is one of the sculptures that we had, the Robert Indiana that we had in Berkeley Square for our sculpture trail. And again, you will see large scale pop-up sculptures by really leading artists coming into the destination. Obviously, we know I've spoken to so many of you about getting involved in Art in Mayfair. That's exactly what this is here for. It's a platform for you to also show your own rich art heritage and your collaborations with artists as brands. And that's through a whole myriad of different ways, from art-inspired showcases or window installations, artist collaborations, pop-up events in stores, talks, tours, and of course I'm here, we can talk to you about how you might want to showcase that. We have a dedicated media campaign around Art in Mayfair, and huge pick up on our social channels as well, with our and our digital channels. Last year we introduced a podcast for Art in Mayfair where we interviewed key artists that were involved in the event, and we even had a pod cab parked on Bond Street where you could hop in and listen to all of those podcasts through the week. So through the weeks of the event, it runs. I haven't put the dates on there. It runs from the 12th of June to the 9th of July. But many of you have had the full deck on it, and if you haven't, you can get it from the New West End Company, obviously, and now. Then we can move on, I think, to the next slide.
Thanks, Katie. So building on the success of our previous sustainability campaigns, this September we will be bringing back our Beyond Now campaign on Oxford Street as we continue to bring customers along our ever-evolving journey to becoming one of the world's leading sustainable shopping districts. This year we've kind of shifted the timings for this campaign to coincide with London Fashion Week. We'll be partnering with a leading organisation in the positive fashion space to really showcase all the strides that our brands are making in this area. We'll also be looking to potentially launch a podcast, working with you, our brands, so some of your leading sustainability experts within your business or whoever it might be, to really create a series, a podcast series showcasing and storytelling your journeys into sustainability. There's going to be several ways for brands to get involved in the campaign, no matter what stage of your respective journeys you are in. We'd also love brands to get involved through dedicated window displays, in-store workshops and events to highlight your sustainable product offerings and more. As always, the campaign will be promoted through our own channels as well as partner channels. We'll also be looking to partner with influencers in this space and sustainability bloggers to really drive credibility and awareness of this campaign. So we will be in touch with brands throughout the summer to kind of give you updates on this campaign, how you can get involved, as we look to launch it in September. So now over to Katie for our most magical festival. Oh no, not yet. Sorry, jumped ahead. Oh, you're on mute, Katie.
Not my first rodeo, but anyway. So autumn in Bond Street. So obviously Fashion Week is such a huge time of year for London. London continues to be a leading fashion hub. We're really renowned for our creativity, our unique take on style. The British designers, our creative directors have made their mark and continue to be revered throughout the world, as do our renowned colleges and universities, sort of developing the designers of tomorrow. So this city really thrives on the energy between fashion, art, music, and sort of subculture. And it was just, you know, we really wanted to take a look at that element of London and really bring out this unique sort of high fashion element and celebrate around London Fashion Week. Perfect time to celebrate this sort of thriving fashion scene that we have here in London. So this will be a big celebration of fashion. It's great timing for you with all of the collections, and it enables you to get involved through sharing all your fashion news, collection previews, runway images. It's not quite going back to the days of Vogue Night Out, which we know we remember with 100,000 people on Bond Street, but it's definitely a great celebration and bringing back to the fore our London's great fashion credentials. We'll be doing a media partnership for this, and of course working across our social and influencer channels, and there'll be loads of opportunities for us to promote all of you across the street, and there'll be more details as we come through the next months ahead. I think, Izzy, we can move to Christmas. Oh God, isn't Christmas magical in the West End? The West End has almost become synonymous with Christmas, and it's, you know, even in my sort of 20 years, it's grown and grown and grown. And, you know, I guess that the whole social media scene has just really transformed how people see Christmas in the West End. There really is nowhere like it. So we'll be bringing this sort of famous West End festive spirit back to the streets. The excitement mounts from early November as the famous Oxford Street lights go up, and then followed in mid-November by Bond Street's new Christmas lights, the crown jewel inspired lights, and the brand new Ralph Lauren giving tree for Bond Street. So we launch a huge festive campaign around our Christmas events. It's a huge part of the year for you and for us in terms of our budget investment. The festive campaign sort of kicks off with both media campaign of Only in the West End, all about the experience. You've got to come in, you've got to see it. Even if you're not spending money, you come in and see the lights, and then inevitably you're spending money in whether it's our stores, whether it's shopping, or the entertainment, the restaurants and so on. So everyone has a huge pickup from our media campaigns in this. We will again be looking at our direct spend partnerships with American Express and potentially with others as well, and across our social digital platforms with our newsletters, media promotion with the FT and so on. So absolutely huge timing for us that you all get involved in. Next slide.
So you can see a lot of exciting campaigns going on throughout the year. But aside from our campaign periods, we also have our always on promotional channels that run throughout the whole year. So as many of you will know, New West End Company manage the Oxford Street and Bond Street digital channels, which currently have a combined social following of over 70,000 people. That's across Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. And we have managed to grow those channels over 20% versus last year, with our social posts having an average reach of approximately 16,000 per post. So this year we're really looking to grow our social following by a further 15%, and I'll talk you through how we plan to do that. Our websites also enjoy a combined monthly visit of 65,000, with our newsletters performing really well and with an average open rate of approximately 29%. So earlier this year we did run an audit across all of our channels to really inform our plans for the coming year. So as a result of this audit, our digital strategy is really broken down into 3 key pillars. So firstly, really to elevate our destination status through the creation of some really rich and aspirational content, really bringing our kind of streets to life on our digital platforms to really give visitors a sense of what they can expect and experience when they do physically come and visit us. Secondly, to increase our online performance through greater investment in SEO and paid advertising, working more frequently with influencers, but the right kind of influencers for each of our channels, and also digital media partnerships. The third pillar is really increasing the frequency of our video content and production to capture, as I said, how we showcase what you can experience physically on the streets when you do come and visit versus online. And hopefully a lot of you will have been on follow us across our social channels and our websites, and will have seen our amazing content that our team produces. But our video content really performs really well, and our customers are very, very engaged with our channels. So we really encourage you to look at our digital platforms as an additional promotional tool to showcase what you're doing at a local level. Whether that's new product launches, collaborations, in-store events, experiences, anything that you have going on, the more our brands share with us, the more knowledge we have, and the more we can share that across our platforms to really highlight and showcase all the wonderful things that our brands are doing. Our content is only as rich and great as what you share with us. So I'd really encourage you to share as much as possible, so that we can promote everything that you have going on in stores. We do have, we've listed here kind of our key stats, but obviously if anyone wants some more information, please reach out to us. But yeah, as I said, the more you share, the better our content is across our channels. So now I'm going to pass over to Sarah, who will dive into our West End loyalty programme. Over to you.
Thanks, Heather. I think it's fair to say that actually the West End Loyalty Club has had relatively a low-key launch back in the summer of 2020, when workers were beginning to return to offices after lockdown. In a previous life, it was actually the Regent Street Privilege Card, but it is now far bigger and far better. And it is a massive missed opportunity for brands if you don't get involved. Brands tell me they want to see more local, reliable, regular customers. Well, this is your route into achieving that. It is delivered via an app, and we are about to relaunch it. It provides over 17,000 local workers with exclusive privileges, benefits, offers and events. Currently, we have 40 live offers, I believe. 100 brands have taken part since we launched it. It spans different categories: food and beverage, retail, beauty, wellness, hotels and services. Some of the most popular offers include Liberty London, who offer 10%, Fortnum & Mason, who offer 10%, Langham's London, 25% off afternoon tea and at the bar. Gymshark don't just offer a discount. They recently put on a member-only Gymshark Sweat Club, and that was exclusive for members. And they also hold back a number of limited spaces in their more regular yoga classes, and that goes down really well. For Mother's Day, we had a number of brands offering gift with purchase, and a few beauty brands are offering a handful of makeovers that coincide with certain product launches they've got coming up, which is, I'm sure, going to go down really well. Brands don't need to give a discount. You can hold back a number of places for an event you're doing in store, a workshop you're putting on, perhaps you've got like a special preview of a new collection you're having, or a Meet the Maker talk. Any of those things would absolutely work, whether it's open to all 17,000 of the database or whether you're going to offer limited access just for a specific moment in time. We can publicise it through the monthly newsletter, as well as giving you the opportunity to run your own solus mailing to the database that can, where you can deliver all your own key messages in your own way. I mentioned a relaunch. We are running some back-end development work to enable us to improve our data capture, which we can then share with you when you provide us with an offer. Our focus is very much to secure compelling offers, drive customer acquisition, and we're hoping to reach as many of the 150,000 workers that sit across the West End. I mean, it's 17,000 at the moment, but there's huge possibilities there. And then we'll, of course, be incentivising and encouraging redemptions as well. The long-term vision, which I've put down here as phase 3, is to open the programme out to local residents and to hotel guests as well. But I would really urge you to get involved. It's a massive missed opportunity. Katie will now talk about our dedicated tourism programme. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you. Yes. So coming through with our destination tourism, we are very, very focused to promote our key activation periods to our source markets of UK, domestic, US, Middle East, and specifically China, through all of the methods that we have talked about previously in this. But and for us specifically, I think it's really important that you get involved in our campaigns in terms of getting involved in our press trips. Both we're bringing UK and US journalists over throughout sort of summer into September. We will be promoting through our influencers to the Middle East, and we will be launching our WeChat mini programme for the West End, of which you will all be able to have a storefront within that. So really important that we are sharing what you're doing, because at the end of the day, we are a storytelling device for what you are doing to encourage people here to the West End. So very focused on our domestic UK, US, Middle East and China markets through our media campaigns. We will continue to do our Only in the West End media campaign, which again, getting involved in the experiences and showcasing what you do there. We'll be working with our tourism partners on the wider London campaigns, so the Let's Do London with L&P. They are specifically targeting French and German. So we'll be getting involved in that, and therefore really helping to expand our international reach and really make the most of our budgets by working with those partners. Restarting our China Ready, sorry, I jumped too far there quickly there. Restarting our China Ready, so working with our agency in China to create the dedicated WeChat mini programme. So bringing greater visibility and engagement for the West End within both the inbound Chinese visitor and also the Chinese living and studying here in the UK and London. So looking at how we engage with them, making sure that they feel welcome and that they're engaged with. And that's going to be a really exciting launch towards sort of September, so that we're up and running, ready for Golden Week and all of the special unique offers and things that you will bring to Chinese visitors at that time. We're continuing to work with our partners for the direct spend campaign with American Express, potentially with other partners such as MasterCard, who we've worked with really well in the past. I think Amex has always proved hugely successful. It's a very good way for us to pre-promote Xmas to their customer database and with our marketing campaign, as well as then driving actual incremental spend directly to your store. So very good partnerships, and we will definitely be continuing to do those and expanding them with our budgets throughout the Christmas period. We aim to engage with new audiences and new audience sets this year through increased partnership programmes, working to maximise our budgets and really drive spend with what we can see of this trend of lower footfall but higher spending. And so that's really why we're going to expand our partner network programs in order to reach those specific audiences, whether that's through our concierge programs, whether it's private banking, through by appointments, and reaching out to those high net worth groups with all of those, all that the West End has to offer. Of course, again, this is something that you can talk to us at New West End Company about any of these tourism programmes and how you can be better involved, because there are a million different ways in which you can be involved with these programmes. Well, probably not a million, but many. So I think really useful now, if we go on to the next slide, Izzy. So we've put together a timeline, and obviously this presentation is going to come to you, so we don't expect you to jot this all down now, but we've put together a timeline that helps you to visualise the key periods of our activations, so giving you an idea of when some of the deadlines to get involved would be. It also shows, you know, some of our key activations on our digital channels, splitting up Oxford Street and Bond Street, and then some of the very overall West End periods where we all get involved, such as Christmas. And then just for your usefulness, we've added the kind of key holiday hotspots that really drive spend, and that we particularly focus on in terms of activity that we do through the marketing campaigns to ensure that we're picking up and enhancing that visitor, those visitor periods, to really maximise the potential spend in stores.
Okay, Katie. And it's behind. Oh, I've got a big echo. Oh, it's gone now. And particularly to the team behind the scenes who are not on your screen now, that have spent a lot of time putting this programme together for everybody. I'm going to head now to the Q&A that I've got on the side of my screen. I've got a few questions that have come through. The first one: do we have any insights into when Chinese tourists will return? Well, I can answer that one. We anticipate they will come back very soon. They're already returning. It won't really be until Q3 that they will return in any great numbers. They've been closed for 1,000 days. They only reopened in December. It will take them roughly 6 months, when it took the rest of the world 18 months to get back to normal. Their flight capacities are still only about 15% at the moment. So even if people want to come, they can't physically get here. Waiting lists for visa appointments is also, the latest I heard was that people couldn't get a visa appointment until the end of May. So that's obviously going to hold them back. There's a lot of passports that have expired during those 1,000 days. People are doing their passport renewals now. They are still already they're in our top 10 spenders, and that's really the significant amount of Chinese who live here, particularly students, and then the friends and family of those students have been the first to return. But yes, they will be coming back, hopefully in their droves, in Q3. Next question. So it's probably one for you, Katie. Will stores on Bond Street be closing early on Coronation Day?
Actually, overall, the feedback is that stores are going to remain open because it is a very busy time in the West End. I think for sure there is a propensity for some, particularly on the Old Bond Street, the more jeweller stores, to close a little early, but generally no, people are maximising the period. But we will get more information on that, and we will share, you know, we normally do a table for you which showcases the days. So as that information comes in, we will absolutely be more than happy to share it. Okay, thank you. I mean, it's out of respect, brands closed during the funeral, but this is obviously very different, isn't it? It's a celebration, and I think everyone's going to make the most of it. Yeah. Hotel will there be any
road closures over the bank holiday weekend, I can answer that. We're not obviously part of the official ceremonial route, but we will of course be impacted on the day. For security reasons, although we're working closely with Metropolitan Police on that, we can't divulge details until nearer the time. But as soon as we can, we will share those details and we will send them out through our member comms. Is this a seminar being recorded for future listening? I believe it's being recorded, Izzy. I will get confirmation. Oh yeah, hi, yeah, yes, it is. It is being recorded, so we can share that with you. Any further questions? Just scrolling down. No, doesn't seem to be anything else coming through. Ah, here we are. There is one more. Are there any recommendations for shops for their window displays on Bond Street for the coronation? Katie?
Well, you know, I suppose being such international brands, the windows are mostly decided well in advance, up to you know, a year or so in advance. So I think, you know, if there is opportunity to do something that gives a tribute, and I know that obviously during the Platinum Jubilee, there were small tributes or attention to details put in place. But I suppose most of the Bond Street stores are sticking with their planned window displays. I think that there is an official coronation emblem that's available, and we could add that to this presentation and share it with you, and you can download it. It's a red, white and blue, quite tasteful, lovely emblem, and we will certainly be using it as the gateways to our flags, and that's the official emblem. But I think that there's a lot of obviously red, white and blue, and purple, of course, which is always seen as a very nice royal colour, is used. But I think there is an official emblem that's used. I think a number of brands have spoken to me about special windows, but generally I think it will be a very business as usual, but very busy weekend that weekend.
Thank you, Katie. I've got one final question here from Samsung's Experience Stores. What is the best way to get involved with the loyalty program? Looks like a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity. We've got a whole team of people here who can help you. There's one person in particular who's responsible for the Western Loyalty Club, and that is Kate. She's not part of this webinar today, but she is listening, and I'll make sure that she reaches out to you, Miles, if that's okay. Okay, unless there are any further questions, I will be putting up the team. There you go. There we all are, here, happy, ready to help you. Email addresses are on there too. Please do get in contact. And I think at that point, I will draw it to a close. Thank you so much for joining us, and this will be circulated for everybody to read in their own time. Thank you very much. Have a good day.